As the sun set on June 17, 2015, the Emmanuel African Methodist Church welcomed 12 faithful individuals for their Wednesday Bible study. Among them stood an unfamiliar face. Despite the church's rich history within the African American community, a white man would show up on this day, looking to participate in the Bible study. The attendees welcomed and accepted him with open arms. What they didn't know was this man had plans to instigate a race war in America by killing as many African Americans as possible. This man was Dylann Roof. Dylann Storm Roof was born on April 3, 1994, in Columbia, South Carolina. His parents had gone through a divorce but were briefly reconciled around the time of his birth. His father, Frank Bennett Roof, worked as a carpenter, while his mother, Amelia Cowell, was a bartender. He grew up alongside two sisters, an older half-sister named Amber, and a younger sister named Morgan Roof. At the age of 5, Roof's father married Paige Mann in November 1999. Allegedly, Frank subjected Paige to physical and verbal abuse, leading to the end of their marriage 10 years later. As a child, Dylann was known for his introverted demeanor and displayed compulsive behavior growing up, such as often obsessing over cleanliness and insisting on having his hair cut in a certain style. He participated in typical activities such as playing video games, spending time with family, and attending church. As Dylann grew up, his family would relocate to many areas around South Carolina. He would go back and forth between living with his mother and father and attended 7 different schools in 9 years. During this time, he was known to be polite and treated everyone the same, no matter their race. Dylann repeated the 9th grade twice, as he struggled in classes and spent most of his time experimenting with marijuana and other drugs. In 2010, he stopped attending classes altogether and put all his time into doing drugs and playing video games. He later enrolled into an online school and dropped out of there as well before eventually obtaining a GED. Around this time, Dylann lived with a close friend named Joseph Meek, and the two would party and use drugs together. He also had an African American best friend named Christian Scriven. Dylann's racial views never took a turn until 2012, when the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman incident occurred. For reasons unknown, Dylann began researching black-on-white crime. After finding many cases highlighting black-on-white crime, he developed the belief that blacks were taking over the world and had to be stopped. He began planning on how he would start a racial war. It has been reported that Roof informed friends and neighbors of his intentions to kill people, including a potential attack on the College of Charleston. However, his claims were never taken seriously. Over the next few years, Roof kept his ideologies away from those who knew him in real life. Instead, he began communicating online with other white supremacists and posting frequently on white supremacy websites, such as the Daily Stormer. On February 28, 2015, Columbia's Columbiana Center Mall security alerted the police about a person dressed in all black, identified as Roof, who raised concerns by asking unsettling questions to employees. When questioned by the police, Roof consented to a search, and they found multiple strips of Suboxone in his possession. Suboxone is a prescription medication used for opioid use disorder, often used recreationally by individuals seeking an opioid-like high. Roof's lack of a valid prescription led to his arrest on a misdemeanor drug possession charge and a year-long ban from the mall. Weeks later, one of the officers who had arrested him at the mall recognized Dylann as he was loitering in his parked car near downtown Columbia. His car was searched, and police found an AR-15 foregrip as well as 6 unloaded magazines capable of holding 40 rounds. He told police he intended to buy an AR-15 and was never charged, as it was not illegal to own a foregrip in South Carolina. On April 3rd, Dylann's father gifted him money for his 21st birthday to purchase a gun. 8 days later, Dylann attempted to do so, and would end up obtaining one only due to a gap in his background check. The employee at the gun store responsible for investigating Dylann's criminal history failed to do so within the federal law's mandated period of 3 business days. As a result, Dylann was allowed to purchase a .45 caliber Glock handgun with no issues on April 16th. Another encounter with the law occurred on April 26, 2015, when Roof was arrested for trespassing at Columbiana Center Mall, resulting in the ban being extended by 3 more years. In the weeks leading up to the shooting, Dylann visited the Charleston area and scoped out the church on at least 2 occasions. A week prior to the shooting, he told his friend Joseph Meek his plan to commit a mass shooting at an African American church in hopes to begin a race war. Joseph's reaction to this information is unclear, but he never told the police about Dylann's intentions. Around 8 p.m. on June 17, 2015, Dylann drove to the Emmanuel African Methodist Church as Wednesday night Bible study was beginning. As Dylann entered the church, he sat down with 12 others who welcomed him as one of their own, despite him not being African American. The group discussed Bible scriptures and shared laughs together, with the pastor of the church even offering Dylann a seat beside him so he could feel as welcomed as possible. According to Dylann, he had thoughts of not carrying out the shooting because of how nice everyone was to him. However, about an hour into Bible study, as everyone closed their eyes and bowed their heads for prayer, he stood up and removed his gun from his fanny pack and aimed it at 87-year-old Susie Jackson. Attempting to de-escalate the situation, Susie's nephew, Tywanza Sanders, tried to reason with Dylann and asked him why he was attacking churchgoers. Dylann responded, "I have to do it. You assault our women, and you're taking over our country, and you have to go." He then expressed his intention to shoot everyone. Sanders was the first to be shot as he selflessly positioned himself in front of Susie as Dylann began firing. Roof continued firing rapidly at the others while shouting out racial slurs. He reportedly also said, "Y'all want something to pray about? I'll give you something to pray about." In one instance, while Roof was reloading, Daniel Simmons Sr. attempted to run and check on the pastor. Daniel usually brought a gun with him to church, but didn't have it on him this day. When Roof noticed him, he responded by shooting him 6 times. By pretending to be dead on the floor, Sanders' mother and his 5-year-old niece survived the shooting. Dylann walked towards Polly Shepard as she was praying out loud and said, "Shut up. Did I shoot you yet?" She replied, "No." Roof replied, "Good, 'cause I need someone to survive and tell the story. I'm going to shoot myself and you'll be the only survivor." Allegedly, Roof is said to have pointed the gun at his own head and pulled the trigger, only to find out that he had no ammunition left. At 9:06 p.m., Roof fled the church after yelling more racial slurs over the victims' bodies. In approximately 6 minutes, Roof had fired 74 rounds and killed 9 people. Each victim was shot multiple times. Following the shooting, GPS evidence shows Dylann immediately drove toward a second black church about 20 miles away. However, the church had canceled their Bible study for the night, and nobody was there. Authorities treated the assault as a hate crime, leading to the involvement of the FBI and the beginning of a nationwide manhunt. Police released images of Roof captured on the church's surveillance cameras to the public and set up a tip line. The next day, Dylann was quickly identified as the suspect by multiple callers, including his older half-sister Amber. Police received a tip from a driver named Debbie Dills, who recognized Roof driving his car on U.S. Route 74 toward Shelby, North Carolina. At 10:44 a.m., Roof was captured and arrested during a traffic stop in Shelby, North Carolina, roughly 245 miles from where the shooting occurred. Officers found the same .45 caliber pistol used in the shooting inside his vehicle. 2 handwritten notes were also found in his car, one for his mother and one for his father. Roof was arrested and was interrogated by agents of the FBI. During the interrogation, he laughed and confessed to the shooting. He admitted he targeted it because of its role in African American history. When Dylann was told he killed 9 people, he disputed this with the agents. He said he believed it was lower than that, but felt bad when he learned the true number. On August 4, 2016, Dylann was attacked while in jail by a fellow inmate named Dwayne Stafford. Roof suffered hits and bruising to the face and body, but was not seriously injured. The following night, Stafford was released on an over $100,000 bond after the public got word of his assault on Roof and donated money to free him. Roof and his attorney never pressed charges on Stafford. Dylann pleaded not guilty to 9 murder charges, a weapons charge, 3 attempted murder charges, and federal hate crime charges. He originally planned to plead guilty, but his lawyer advised him not to, as they were unsure at the time if prosecutors would be seeking the death penalty. In September of 2015, it was announced that the state would seek the death penalty, and in May of 2016, federal prosecutors announced the same, making Dylann Roof the first person in U.S. history to have faced both a state and federal death penalty at the same time. On January 10, 2017, Dylann Roof was sentenced to death for his federal crimes, and the state sentenced him to life in prison without parole on April 10, 2017. Roof attempted to appeal his death sentence in 2020, claiming mental illness. However, his appeal has since been denied. Roof has been transferred to death row at a facility that houses mostly male inmates awaiting execution under the federal government. Joey Meek has also since been charged for reportedly lying to federal authorities during their investigation and failing to report his knowledge of Dylann's plan to commit the shooting. He pleaded guilty in April of 2016 and was sentenced to 27 months in prison in March of 2017.